And I am now joined by the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Welcome to the program, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
On Monday, the European Union is joining forces with global partners to raise 7.5 billion euros in a worldwide pledging initiative to support coronavirus diagnostics and vaccines. What is the top thing that you hope to achieve?
Well, for us, it's important that we give a strong answer to the coronavirus because we know it knows no borders, it knows no nationalities, and we can only defeat that virus by a vaccine. And for that, we need a global coordinated action because we want to prevent that there is a run to the vaccine once we have it for those who can afford it. So we need the coordinated research on the vaccine. When we have it, and we start right now already, we have to build up capacities to manufacture it, zillions of doses. And then we have to make sure that we can deploy it to every corner in the world in a fair and affordable price. And that's what exactly we're working on. For that, we need money. And we need a global cooperation. We have this global framework now, and we need the pledging conference on Monday to raise the 7.5 billion euros. This is just the start. I think we will need more over time.
So you say a fair and affordable price for any potential vaccine, but the UN Secretary General has actually taken it one step further when it comes to facilitating public access to a vaccine. He says vaccines should belong to the entire world, not to individual countries or regions or companies. Is that something that you would be willing to support? Should a vaccine belong to humanity?
Well, of course, everybody should have access to this vaccine. And that's the reason why we got all the stakeholders that are necessary. So we have the WHO, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Wellcome Trust, Unitate, Global Fund, just to name some. Of course, these important platforms like CEPI and Gavi. And we're backed by many, many countries in the world. The G20, I brought the initiative to the G20. So this is necessary to really have a global approach, a coordinated approach in this important task.
I'd like to ask you, because the crisis in the meantime is really hitting the European economy hard. I mean, many warnings that the EU could risk doing too little too late to shield the economy from the effects of the coronavirus. You're currently figuring out how to finance the EU's coronavirus recovery fund. But so far, no concrete plan has been put forward. Where's the urgency?
Well, first of all, for the acute crisis, we put forward, the European Union and the member states, a sum of 3.4 trillion, which is, for example, the flexibilization of state aid, the flexibilization of all the European funds, but also a program to keep people, the employees in their companies, being paid for short-time work so that the healthy companies can restart immediately, the economy picks up again. This has been put out as a first answer for the corona crisis. But you're right, we need a big recovery instrument. And for that, we proposed that we work on the 7-year budget of the European Union, topped by a recovery instrument that is Marshall Plan-like, which we can then channel through the budget and give it to the member states, because the budget is per se an instrument for investment, for solidarity. It's backed by all 27 member states, but also for cohesion and conversion. And therefore, it is so important to have this instrument in place. We're working on it right now. We got a strong backing by the European Council. That was necessary and good. And it's a big endeavor, but I'm positive that we're going to deliver.
What could we see in that instrument? Because, I mean, we have southern states like Italy and Spain calling for grants, mutualized debt, so-called corona bonds. That's facing opposition from countries like Germany and the Netherlands. So what will be in the fund? Will we see corona bonds? Will we see grants?
So in the whole instrument, we will have certainly the right balance of loans and grants. This is the process where we have to negotiate with all 27 member states. But it is important that all agree that it is the way forward to take. So all agree on working on the 7-year budget of the European Union plus a recovery instrument. And this is a strong measure. Of course, and I think this is democracy, we have to speak about the detailing out, the tailor-made programs. But all do agree that it is important to support the countries that are hardest hit by the virus and the economic consequences.
Another issue which has come up in this coronavirus crisis is the issue of European fundamental principles and values. And in that context, I would like to ask you if you're concerned about the crisis being used here in the European Union to limit democratic rights in countries, for example, like Hungary.
Well, many countries, about 20 countries, took extraordinary measures, which is in a crisis okay, because you have to be fast and you have to be able to act. But they have to be proportionate, they have to be time limited, very clearly, and they have to be under democratic scrutiny. And here we're looking very closely to how these measures are implemented when it comes to the European values, indeed the freedom of speech, the freedom of media, for example. So we stand ready to intervene immediately if this is not appropriate and time limited. But in the moment of crisis, we see, as I said, many member states that are using these extraordinary measures. It has to be in the right sense.
You mentioned that also, that it has to be in the right sense after Hungary passed its emergency coronavirus law on the 30th of March. You said that coronavirus crisis cannot be used to undercut democracy, but you didn't mention Hungary by name. You've come under criticism for that. Do you regret not mentioning them by name?
It is for us very important to look at every member state in the same way. It is true that with Hungary, we have difficult experiences. So there will be a lot of scrutiny, but I think fairness among all member states is important. And the approach that we guarantee the fundamental rights of the European Union, that we stand up being the guardian of the treaty, we have to be completely neutral towards the member state, but ready to act when something goes in the wrong direction. And here I'm very clear. What I said already, that we're ready to act the moment we see that the implementation of these measures is not appropriate.
As a trained physician, when you look at the situation that the world is facing, when you look at the situation that the European Union is facing, are you sometimes dismayed when you look around?
This corona crisis is devastating, but it shows two sides. It shows, on the one hand, that there are lessons we have to learn. For example, I think we need a way more robust and transparent data reporting system for us in the European Union, but also globally, to be better prepared and to have an early warning system. The second is that we see how important it is to have sound, strong healthcare systems that can absorb shocks and that can respond to crises like this one. And the third one that I think is important for the European level is that we will have to improve the system that the European level is able to buy critical medical goods like personal protective equipment like masks and gloves or ventilators. Buy them, stockpile it, and distribute it to those member states who need it. This was not in place at the beginning of the crisis. We put it in place now, and we will certainly have a very close look at it. The good part that we saw over the last weeks is an enormous growth of solidarity. When I saw the Polish and the Romanian doctors and nurses going to Italy, on the other hand, sharing test kits with other member states, France sending patients to Germany and Austria, France sending masks to Spain and Italy. So many, many examples of solidarity. That is and was good to see. And I think later on, drawing the lessons from the crisis, this is on the positive side.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us to share that. President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
Thank you so much.